Now it's time for my next special guest now, waiting on my Zoom call. We have a musician from across the pond. We have Jennifer Alvarado. Welcome to my show here in the UK.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you on. How are we today?
Good, good.
That's great
Been
to hear.
been a wild weekend and yeah.
And
But yeah.
you're a musician, and have you had a good weekend with gigs? How's it going touring at the moment?
Yeah, I did have some gigs this weekend. I actually had to take Saturday off because the ISSA awards were in Atlanta, and so we went to Atlanta for that. I was up for seven nominations, and I actually won Entertainer of the Year silver. So yeah, it was a good weekend. It was an interesting weekend, but it was good.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Jennifer Alvarado, can you just tell me and my listener how your musical voyage began?
Yeah, so I've been doing this a while. I started writing when I was around four, which sounds weird, but yeah, I started making up songs and stuff when I was about four, and just really found um, just a lot of power in being able to write stories and create stories. And so it started there, and then my papa was actually a musician, and so being at his house and learning stuff from him, I just kind of picked it up. And my grandmother was very much into country music, especially. And so when I was down there, I was always surrounded by music. And so I think I decided when I was probably maybe six or seven, like I wanted to sing, like that's what I wanted to do. And of course, like growing up, you get involved in choir, you get involved in school stuff. I didn't really start taking lessons until I was middle school. And I actually started taking lessons because I had such bad anxiety with getting up and performing that I really had to work through that. And then, of course, like I got involved in church, became a worship leader, worship pastor. Um, and then, still was writing, still was doing all this stuff, but never really had, I guess, the confidence of going out and pursuing it full time until a couple years ago. And of course, with the pandemic and everything, you're stuck at home and you start releasing stuff and it starts getting its own life. And so I made the decision a couple years ago that, hey, you know, I don't want any regrets in life. And so I needed to at least try and see what was going to happen. So that's sort of everything.
Marvelous. So it's been a long journey, but well worth it to get to where you are now.
Oh yeah. And I think that all of the hardships and all of the trials, like it better prepares you for things. And also it makes you more grateful. And I think that that's the biggest thing. I think when you get too much too fast, and you don't have the struggles, it's not that you're ungrateful. It's just that maybe you take it for granted from the standpoint of you don't know the other side. And so I think because I have seen the other side and I have seen, the heartache of it sometimes, it makes you even more grateful and realize what it's worth in the moment. So
Sure. In this music business, it's fair to say it's a learning curve, and there's always something you learn every day, isn't there?
oh yeah, I mean every gig is different. Every audience is different. You really have to become flexible. Just like my car broke down last week, and so it was like, okay, now what? Because I had gigs. Like, how am I getting there? And so you have to just sort of go with the flow and figure it out as you go. And that's honestly sort of what I love about it because it's not just the mundane, every day looks the same. Like every single day is different. So,
True. What do you enjoy being a solo artist?
um, I think the freedom in being a solo artist is really, I mean, I love my band. So I have a band for when I'm doing bigger shows and stuff like that, and I love the camaraderie that comes with that. I love being able to be out there with other people because you play off of other people. Um, but I will say being able to like voice my own thoughts and feelings and everything, and really being able to just kind of put myself out there. I do love that because I think sometimes you can get lost in everybody else, and I tend to pull back when I'm with a bunch of other people. That's just my introvert self. And so I think it forces me continually to have to put myself out there.
My next question I'm going to ask for you. I understand you like to travel. I know you do a bit of commuting here and there.
Um, yeah, I do. So I do like to travel, but I am a homebody too. So it's kind of that balance. But I love going different places. And honestly, like my husband and I have talked about coming to London like so many times and like coming to the UK. And I would love to do that one day. It's just the matter of when and all of that and getting that organized. So yeah.
Hopefully you can make it. I've never been to the States before, so that's on my wish list as
Okay.
well. I know I was due to go before COVID, and then it all
Yep.
went out the window. But fingers crossed, one day I'll make it. Sometimes you just got to do it, haven't you? Just got to get on the computer and book your flight and just go.
Well, and we had looked at booking to come to London right during COVID. Like it was right before
Mm.
COVID hit. And so we had looked at it, we were planning it, and then everything
Yeah.
happened. So
Oh,
it's just delayed.
yeah.
It's gonna happen one day, but it's delayed.
Yeah. Okay, and we're here also to talk about your new single as well. Can you tell me
Yeah.
what it's called and just tell me just a little bit about it as well?
Yes. So it's called Trigger Warning, and it's the second single off of my new EP that just came out called Songbird Part Two. It's kind of ends the project, the Songbird project. It finalizes it. But trigger warning is basically, it's become a very prevalent term in pop culture today and just in culture today of that warning that goes before any kind of social media post, anything that might have some alarming, emotional, just cause some kind of emotional effect on you. And My thought behind this song was what if we had trigger warnings on people? Like what if we could see as we meet them, like, hey, this person is going to cause you emotional distress at some point, so you might want to just stay back.
Mm.
um, and so really that's what the song is. It's about someone that just, and they didn't even mean to, but it was like they reminded me so much of past things and just brought out so many negative things in me, but I cared so much that you don't want to tell that person goodbye,
Mm.
but sometimes it's just it's inevitable. Like it needs to happen.
And just looking at the background of the video call, got a lot of nice guitars in the background. Is the guitar one of your best friends?
Yes. Yeah. I picked up, well, I started playing a little bit when I was little. My grandfather played guitar for years. He played pretty much every stringed instrument. But guitar was always his favorite. And yeah, I started playing when I was about 13 because I decided that was going to be my instrument to be able to write with. And yeah, so I'm a little obsessed with guitars.
And I've never asked a musician this, but on guitars, I know you get electric guitar and then an acoustic guitar. Do you have to be in the mood for either one? Do you have a preference, or do you like them both?
I think it depends on what I'm working on. If something needs a little bit harder edge, I go with the electric guitar. I usually, with everything I do, I'm playing acoustic guitar. That's what I grew up with. That's what I always played. But I do pull the electric out every once in a while and play. So,
That's good.
yeah.
Do you have any career highlights so far?
Hmm. I think being able to play the Viper Room back in May, that was definitely, that was even a career highlight that I didn't know that I wanted, if that makes sense. Like that place is so iconic, and so you go in and just the history that's there is amazing. But honestly, I think my biggest highlight is just getting past fears and putting myself out there, as far as like, there was a time where I was so afraid to even go out and play. And it hasn't been that long ago. And so I think over the past 2 years, where it's just been constantly gigging and constantly going out and trying new things and making myself uncomfortable on purpose. I think that's the biggest highlight because I see my own growth, and that's one thing that I can honestly be proud of. And I think some of the songwriter awards and stuff like that, just to know that you're kind of on the right path, maybe. Um, I think that that's definitely a highlight too.
And I was saying to a friend, where has this year gone? We're in August now, the summer, and we've
Goodness,
still
yeah.
got a bit of the year left. Any plans for the rest of the year ahead?
Yeah, so hopefully if my car gets finished today, I plan on going back into the studio tomorrow to finish work on a Christmas album that's coming out probably in November. And well, it needs to come out in November. And then also I'm starting work on a new album. So
Oh,
that's
that's
sort of
good.
my plan.
That's good. So, some things there to look forward to. Well,
Yeah.
Jennifer Alvarado, that about wraps up my interview today. Also, me to say is I'm going to play you a new single now. My name's Dannison here in the UK. This is a late night show. Would you like to introduce your new single on?
Sure. Thank you for listening. This is Jennifer Alvarado and my new single, Trigger Warning.
It's a pleasure speaking with you today. Have a great day and week.
Thank you. You too.